Brian, you are our guest. Why don't you lead us to Pledge of Allegiance? Unless you don't want it, that's okay.
Who did you want to do that? Oh, Brian. Okay.
All right. Ready, begin. I pledge
allegiance to the
the flag of the
the
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Brian. Well, we respect our guests, so we want to give them some responsibility so they don't feel out of place. Okay, roll call. Let's do roll call. Benita present. Chip, Kathy. I don't think he was not able to log on. Carla,
present.
Kathy,
Present.
Siv, Suzanne,
Present.
Paul. Okay. F is just staff. Kelly, Samara.
Present.
Thank you. Lisa,
Yes.
Judith,
No.
Laura,
Present.
Stanley, Nick.
Present.
Thank you. And in guest, I see Brian. Do we have any other guests? Did I miss anybody? Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming here. I'm a little exhausted, so I hope you guys can handle me. If not, I'll ask Kathy to take over the meeting. But as of now, I think I can run it. But Kathy is on standby, just so you all know. Did everybody get an opportunity to look at meeting minutes from April meeting?
Yes.
I would hear a yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve it? Or are there any corrections? If you need more time, we can come back to this towards the end of the meeting.
Why don't you go round on that?
Okay. Okay. So let's do that at the end of the meeting. I don't think anybody we have a consensus to approve it yet.
Right.
Do we have oral or written communications?
You may want to come back to that when Kelly's here. She would have received those.
Okay, I haven't received anything, so I'm giving my part of it. And do we have any public comments? Hearing none, let's move on. And I believe Laura is here to record the meeting, right? And
yes, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody new in this meeting today? No. Okay. So we don't need any introductions. I believe we all know each other. If we don't, we might want to rename ourselves and add our designations in front of our names. So my first agenda item is, as usual, the same. Has the board approved any new CBOC members?
No.
Okay. Is there, did you get any applications for new CBOC membership?
Ask again when Kelly's here. She would have received those, but as far as I know, there have been none.
Okay. Have you guys checked your website if it is working or not? Because that has been a constant complaint that the website itself is not working for anybody to apply.
It has worked for other committees.
Okay. So it's not working for CBSE. Oh my goodness.
Actually, pardon me, but it was not working for Measure I committee for a while.
So FUSD transitioned to a single application like early March. And as far as I know, there have been no problems since then. People that had old applications or old links trying to use those may have experienced issues, but the current applications should work fine for anybody that's interested.
Maybe we want to do a test drive on it. So just to make sure.
I can say that, like, for example, I know that the FAC did have an application come through, and the TAC, which is our Technology Advisory Committee, it is the same application. There's no, you indicate which committee you're interested in, but there's no difference in the application. So we can do a test one. We can, if anybody wants to try it using test over and over again as their answers, but it's working right now for other committees.
Okay, good, fair enough. Rest of it has to be staff, and I don't see Kelly over here. I don't know how to move along with the meeting.
It is difficult to move along to the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because the rest of the agenda item should be covered by Kelly, unless I can have a motion to move the reports ahead of rest of it.
I make a motion to move the report, the Measure E budget report until, there's Kelly speaking of the devil.
Uh-oh.
What happened? What happened? I had the wrong link, I guess.
Kelly, are you ready?
Just a second. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you okay.
Okay. So is this a new link that we have? Because I was waiting in the old one, so.
It's the same link.
Okay, that's weird because it said that I had to be, it was like, like spinning, like, please wait for the host to let you in kind of thing. So anyway, I'm here. Let's go because we're late. So.
Okay. We have already started the meeting. We are on agenda item number 2, which is no, so that is done. Agenda item number 3, key personal changes at FUSD or at FUSD related to CPSC.
So the latest update is that, of course, you guys know that the associate superintendent has been relieved of her position. It is my understanding they're going to have an interim person that will be available, I believe, beginning next week after the board meeting. I guess they're being presented and discussed at that time. And then the facilities department has advertised for 4 new positions under the bond to do continued support to help us get through the remainder of the Measure E projects that are available. And those positions are a bond financial manager, a construction manager, forgot the name of it. It was named something different. Excuse me. A contracts manager, and then a general staff support person. And those are being advertised right now, and we are setting up times for interviews, I believe, within the next 3 weeks. So we're hoping to take those people to the June board meeting for approval and hire if we find the appropriate staff. So that is all that I'm aware of at this time.
Kelly, are those new positions or filling vacant positions?
They are new positions under the bond, and they are only funded through the timeline of the bond. They are not, part of general fund positions. They are specific to Measure E.
What is the thinking behind, a bond fund manager? What prompted this?
It is my understanding, and the previous associate superintendent felt that it was necessary to have a cabinet level person managing and overseeing the bond. she didn't feel or have, what's the word I'm looking for? The same perspective that I have. And so that was the reasoning behind the creation of that position. She felt for a bond this size, as well as a school district this size, we should have a manager who is at the cabinet level that has the ability to make decisions and take actions, not at the director level.
Okay.
And the other 3 positions are all new positions also?
Correct.
Can you
And
say them?
what was
Can
the
you
fourth
repeat them?
one? What was the 4th one after contract manager?
So bond manager or bond director, then contracts manager, construction manager, and a general administrative support person. Oh, and a project manager, I'm sorry. So that was the 4th, not a general admin, a project manager and a construction manager.
So who has been doing these, taking on these roles and responsibilities right now?
Vanner has actually been supporting us in all of those roles at this time. But remember, the board took action and removed about $2.1 million from Vanner's contract in order to fund these positions that they want to now bring in-house. And understand, timing, and this is something that the associate superintendent and I did not agree upon, timing is everything. So we are removing Vanner at a critical point in time where we are going to be cresting in the production and the progress of our jobs. And it is not necessarily timing wise the best, but she felt it was necessary and proceeded forward with it. So that's
So it looks like there'll be a gap in between, right? Do you know for how long between hiring? It will take a while.
There's only going to be about a 6-month overlap because Vanner's contract ends in December. So even if I hire someone in June, they're probably not going to come on board until July, and I may or may not be able to find the right people with the right skill set and have the learning curve achieved in the time that we need it to be. So it'll be very interesting how we proceed forward. So
yes, okay. Yeah, it's gonna be challenging.
yes, it will.
Learning curve. It will take a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean these are all major roles.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll request everybody to raise their hand when you are going to talk, so that we are not. No, that's okay. Because I was talking on top of Kathy too, so I apologize about that too. Kathy, you had some points. I'll let you finish, and then I have questions.
No, my main question was, were these new positions and what's the genesis of it? And Kelly answered that.
Okay. Okay. So my question will be, do you know the budget for this?
I don't at this time. So we are basically taking the dollars that were deducted from the Vanner contract and basically paying for those positions out of that same pot of money. But we don't have a firm budget because we don't know what the final salary will be for these people once they're negotiated after hire. So that's why I don't know. I can't say, oh, it's exactly going to be, this amount of money.
And you said we have, by removing Vanner, we are going to be saving around $2.1 million.
I'm not going to say we're saving it. We are removing it from their contract, and it will be spent to support these other activities.
Right. So I'm just taking one point at a time.
Yes.
So 2.1 million. That means these 4 positions have to be within that parameter or less than that for the length of the the bond.
Okay. For the length of the completion of the bond.
Right.
And right now we're anticipating it should complete in December, but we probably are going to have some extensions due to supply chain issues and also labor issues that we're starting to experience on several of the projects. So we may be looking at a extension of the schedule based on those parameters, but I'm not prepared for us to talk about the details of those right now because Lisa and I are still working and evaluating all that out.
Okay. And is there a possibility of not having all the 4 positions and instead 1 or 2 positions can be eliminated and be taken over by the other 2?
Say that one more time, Vanita. I didn't quite hear the last part of what your question
Okay.
was.
So my question was, is there a possibility, just in case we are short on money because of all the expenses increase, is there a possibility that these 4 positions can be compressed into 2 or 3 of them and money be saved that way?
Potentially, but I hate to say that because it's already a lot of work that these people are going to be taking on, and to try and combine them because they're very specific in terms of their responsibilities and tasks that they will perform. We can always squeeze, but is it advisable? Not necessarily. And so that would be my answer.
Okay. Carla, I see your hand raised.
Yes. So I just want to also note and clarify the audit that was done for the bond. Is that also where the recommendation was? I remember there was a recommendation to have some of these roles in-house versus having them contracted out to companies like Banner. Is that also where the source of this?
A portion of it is, but I believe that the context in which the audit report stated, they felt that the financial person who was doing the, what do you call it? The contracts administration and our accounting should have been a person that's in-house. Well, we already have an in-house person that kind of manages that and back checks against it. But I think the genesis really was looking at cost-saving measures and trying to consolidate and gain and streamline the process to a certain extent.
Okay. Are we done with this topic? So I have another question. Okay. So coming back to the question that was raised earlier, and not exactly a question, you mentioned that assistant superintendent was, what was the term you used?
I just said that she was relieved from her position.
There, that one. So can you put some spotlight on that one?
I unfortunately don't have any details, but I see that our superintendent is here and maybe he would be able to answer that question for you. And I'm sorry to put you on spot. CJ,
No,
just as you're joining.
if you had not, I would have done it anyways.
Oh, okay.
Good evening.
Thanks so much. Hello, everybody. We, as you all likely know, we don't discuss personnel matters publicly. So in that regard, there's not much information to be shared. It's a personnel matter. It's confidential in nature. There were aspects that were shared publicly during the meeting, and the parts that were shared publicly during the meeting are available for review on the website. And the only things that were shared publicly were the statements of charges against the individual, because each individual has the right under the government code to have those heard in an open session of the meeting. And then there was the decision made by the board and the reporting out of that action, which was to release the associate superintendent from their contract and to give them their effective 90 days of notice of that release is required within the contract. So with that, we are working to bring on an interim associate superintendent to provide support for the business division, which includes many divisions, our facilities, child nutrition services, purchasing, and we hope to have that individual on board soon. We're in the process of doing that currently. If and when we do that, it will come to the board publicly, as it did in the past when we brought in Raul Perengao. So that is not the individual this time, even though we were very pleased to reach out to Raul. He's doing other things in his state of retirement in the state of Washington. So we are looking at bringing in another individual for that interim position. I will also acknowledge that there were statements made during the board meeting by the representative representing the associate superintendent. And obviously the board has a responsibility to be good steward of public funds, and the board takes that responsibility very seriously, as do I. and the board has retained an outside independent investigator to review the allegations. And I am confident that that will be done properly and look forward to that process being completed.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you for that. Kathy, you have a question?
Yes. To what degree do you envision the CBOC being involved with this outside investigator and being kept apprised of what's going on, since the allegations really did revolve around, maybe not totally, but in part revolve around CBOC funding. And it's hard for us to function without knowing what is being done in the background with the committee that we supposedly have oversight responsibility for. So how do you envision that going on?
Thanks. Great question. So I would defer to the independent investigator. And I think to the extent that they need to involve the CBOC, they will, to make sure that they do a comprehensive review. But I couldn't speak today to what that would look like in terms of the CBOC being involved. I don't think there are any allegations that I'm aware of related to the CBOC. It's related to staff within Fremont Unified School District, so that I would imagine would be the scope of the review.
But it wasn't, oh, sorry.
I
wasn't referring to allegations against the CBOC. It was in listening to the recording, it seemed to be that there were funds for which the CBOC was responsible for overseeing, that those were the things that, one of the things at issue. Am I misunderstanding what was stated?
No, I think it was in reference to the Measure E program. And so the CBOC certainly has as its core purpose the review of those expenditures and making sure that the expenditures from Measure E are spent on the things that are fully aligned with the promise made to voters under Measure E. But in terms of what the investigator is going to review and how involved CBOC would be, I couldn't comment on that directly. I could comment on it if I were directly maybe running the investigation, but this is going to be done by somebody independently. So it wouldn't be something that I could give you a for certain answer on. I apologize.
Okay. Carla, you have your hand raised.
Yes. So I don't know if this is more like of a clarifying question in terms of from when I viewed the recording, it seemed like there were two potential areas or subjects of allegations. One was whether or not the released, employee was trying to potentially put a light on discrepancies in the way that Measure E funding was being used, and that was why, I don't know if the claim was that was the real reason why she was being released from her contract. And then the second was whether or not there were staff allegations being made against this person, but it was potentially as retaliation or some sort of, I don't know what the whole explanation is. So I guess my question is, what is the scope of the independent investigator? So if you have an independent investigator, you usually have a list of things that you want them to investigate. So what is the scope of their investigation?
Great question. And that is something that is probably subject to change, right? Because if they're going to be investigating the allegations that were stated, that'll be their initial scope. And to the extent that they need to continue down certain paths to review that fully, I imagine they'll do that. Again, I'm speaking from a speculative standpoint because I'm not the one directly conducting that investigation. And certainly the outside investigators will be looking at the allegations and making sure that they're reviewing everything they need to in order to make a determination related to the allegations.
Okay. Kelly, you have your hand raised.
I just wanted to also remind you all that, the CBOC has received audit reports for the bond every year that the bond has been in existence. And so that audit report is done on two levels, where you have the internal audit that the FUSD accounting department annually is required to do, but then there's also the third-party audit that is conducted for the bond specifically. And you all have always had reports that come back, no exception taken, and all dollars have always been accounted for. And there's never been a discussion of any misappropriation or misidentification of funds. So I want you all to keep that in your, back of your mind, and understand that, you all have done your jobs well, and staff continues to also perform well. So as the investigation proceeds forward, you all do have that information to reflect upon and review for yourselves to understand where everything falls as well.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly, one correction and two comment and a comment. One, we did find a misrecording of something being allegedly charged to Measure E in regard to the horse. I think it was a horse property, and it was determined that was an accounting error. Not horse property, one of the properties. 2 years ago, it was in the report. It said it had been charged as a Measure E. We questioned it, and then it was determined that it never had been. It was an a bookkeeping error. The second thing, though, is that there is always really a significant time lag in our receiving the audit reports. Like, we have not yet received the latest one, because it usually takes the district about 7 months to review the audit report. And so there's always a lag. And we're not forensic accountants or anything, but with an audit report, all you're really kind of looking at is they're saying, okay, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay. Those are just two comments I have about that.
Thank you, Kathy. Does anyone else have any comments? If not, then I'll jump on. Okay, so thank you, Kathy, for that, because Chip had raised those issues, and he has mentioned that he has not been very happy with the audit reports himself. He has been serving CPOC for much longer than me. I'm sure Kathy and Chip had been at the same level, or had been serving at the same time.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Chip has been chair, and he has a larger understanding than me. I can definitely say that with conviction. That and he has mentioned that he is not too comfortable with the audit reports that he has seen. First thing. Second thing, the transparency part of it. I know you guys don't want me to talk about transparency, but I would still say it, that and I did mention to Superintendent Kamak an hour back, 2 hours back, that the website is not very, very transparent. There are not many reports on the website. There is lack of reporting on the website, including the conversations and the communication that happened between the CBOC and the school district. Our letters that we write to the school district are not posted over there. It is a little bit matter of concern. Having said that, I think I will have to disagree with you, Superintendent Kamak, that it's not a big deal, and there is an outside party who's looking at it. It's good that there is an outside party, but since we were called out in the meeting, I think it is CBOC's purview to look into it deeper. It's good that you have outside counsel. I'm sure they would love to work with us and give us all the documents that we would like to see too. I do not want us to be waiting another 8 months to look into the topic. I would like us to be on top of it right from the beginning. I would like to install a subcommittee at this point, and to review all the documents that are produced, I think it's our purview to make sure that we review all the right documents and everything is done right. I'm sorry, I'm not mistrusting you or the school district. It's just that CBOC has a responsibility towards the taxpayers, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Thanks, Vanita. I would want to clarify. I never said that it wasn't a big deal. And so I want to make sure that that's understood. I never made that statement.
Fair enough.
I do think it's important. And I believe that the board thinks it's important. And I think that's why the district has hired an outside independent investigator. I'd be happy to continue to review and discuss the item. I think in terms of concern about transparency with the website, we can work with our team to make sure that things are improved there. I think most of the documents that are, other than maybe letters that have been sent that you're referring to in terms of audit reports, are likely all documents that have been made public as part of board agendas in the past. So it's not that there's any intention to not have them as a transparent and public document. So I can work with our team to address those. I also think that we may need to have further conversation related to the scope of the investigation and whose responsibility it is to handle that investigation. Because if there's an investigation related to personnel within the district and their actions, that would not be the direct scope of the CBOC. While I recognize that CBOC has oversight related to financials of Measure E, there are some things that overlap there. So to the extent that we can dissect those, I'd be happy to engage in those conversations. But I want to make sure we're managing expectations as well. And I don't want the members of the CBOC to have a missed expectation that their scope or role in terms of personnel performance would be
No. Yes.
Right. But I think that is an important context to provide here. So I'm happy to continue that conversation and explore that. But I think that's an important notation.
Thank you, CJ, for that. But that was exactly what I had been thinking. And my next statement would have been that we want to only look into the CBOC aspect of it. We don't. It's not our job or in our interest to look into employee issues or whatever happened between the school district and the employee. It's not our purview. As I said, I had been maintaining that our purview is only for the CBOC part of it. And since the allegations were made in public, it just becomes our responsibility. I don't want somebody to come to us tomorrow and say, hey, you know what, you were asked to take interest in this topic and why have you not done anything? I don't want CBOC to be sitting on the back seat when the call has been directly for CBOC. I hope you understand. I hope you understand our role as well as my hesitation about certain things. I'm not here to point fingers at anyone. I'm not here to judge anyone on employment basis or none of that thing. My role and our CBOC's role is only related with Measure E bond money. And as long as we have the information coming about that, that is exactly what we need.
Yes, and I think you'll have full cooperation from myself and our team to give you information that you might be seeking related to Measure E, and we're happy to continue that conversation. And I think it's reflective of the fact that the board and the district take the allegations seriously as well, being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, because we've already obtained somebody to do the investigation and it's already moving. So I think that timeliness reflects the critical importance that we see behind it.
Okay, thank you. But to maintain the Brown Act issues, I would like to install a subcommittee. And I know I would like Kathleen on it, myself, and who else? Carla, would you be interested?
Possibly, or Susan too can join in. Susan, jump in.
Unfortunately, it has to be minority. We cannot have more than 3 members. That is where my hands are tied because of Brown Act.
I will defer to Susan if Susan wants to be involved.
Probably not. Yeah, for the time that I have right now. I'm sorry. I don't want to overpromise. So
Okay.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. Carla, what about you? Will you
Thanks
be
for
interested?
calling, though. Thank you for
Thank you, Susan.
That's fine.
Okay. So the subcommittee is going to have Kathy, me, and Carla. And I respectfully request FUSD to provide us the share the documents that you find appropriate, and we will be sending you a list of a few things. I hope that works for you.
I would welcome the list, and I will review the list with our investigators. I want to say up front that oftentimes during an investigation, there are materials that are in process, they're in draft form. I don't know what those might be in this moment because I'm not the one conducting the investigation, but I would welcome you to send us a request of what you'd like to see, and we can process that as best as we can and give you as much as we can.
Okay. Thank you so much, CJ. Okay, moving on. Here's my next agenda item. Is there anything else we want to talk about on this topic? Kathy, you have your hand
I have
raised.
a question. Yes. Do we have, you said you have actually retained the investigator. Do you have a name of the firm or something you can share, or would you prefer not to?
I will leave that it's just an outside independent firm that is conducting the investigation.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying to take notes as I go. At this point, let's move on to the next agenda item. We are still running late. Anyways, audit. Okay, Laura?
Hi, just one more thing because this is still on the key personnel changes at FUSD. So it's not a personnel change, but I just wanted to note for the committee that I'm going to join Kelly as a co-liaison for this committee, which doesn't change much except for that I'll be able to communicate directly with members of the committee to get information, to post documents or whatever it is onto the website. So typically that would all go through a committee's liaison, and that's been Kelly. She has a lot on her plate, and so I'm going to take that one little piece, a bit of it, and she can still provide all of the facility expertise that she does, and I'll just be supporting the committee to get information to and from the committee and FUSD.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for that update. I actually forgot about that. I forgot to mention that, but thank you for reminding. At this point of time, I would request you guys to present the audit report. Are you guys ready?
The financial report?
The audit report.
Oh, the audit report.
I guess I wasn't prepared to do the audit report because as I had shared with you in the email, I wasn't sure what we were talking about because I thought we had already reviewed that as a group, and it was just you were asking to review that document yourself.
No, actually 2021 audit report has not been accepted yet.
Well, I have not actually received the 2021, the 21-22 audit report. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, 2021. We received
a
printed copy couple of
mail.
weeks back. Yeah, in the mail. And that's what I wrote in the email too.
Oh, so it was my understanding when you all received that formal, excuse me, that mailed copy, that was your copy of that report to be received and reviewed. So
it needs to be presented.
I don't have that document to share with you all today, so I have to table that to the next one. So I apologize, not understanding what it was that you were asking for.
Okay. Carla, you have raised hand.
Yes. So I think in the past we've scheduled for the company that actually did the audit, and it looks like, what is it, Ide Bailey who did the audit? Ede Bailey. So I don't know if it's possible to ask someone from their firm that did the audit that would if we
I'll be
made this
happy to have them come to our next meeting. That will not be a problem. As I said, I wasn't clear on what exactly it was that you were looking for, so I will make sure that they're available at our next meeting.
Because then we could just table this till the next meeting, and hopefully that person from that firm would be prepared to answer any questions after the board, after CBOC has reviewed the report on our own. Right? Like, as individuals, we all have a copy, a hard copy, and then hopefully at the meeting where someone from the firm is present, then we could ask our questions.
Yeah, we have the copy, but it still needs to be presented to the public. And this is a public setting where we have to look at it as a group and discuss it. So
yeah, but it's helpful when someone who actually, the people who prepared the audit are there.
Absolutely.
I will see if they're available to come for our June 1st meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Carla, for that comment. Any other comments? Okay. Can we move on to reports, which is April report?
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lisa McLean for her to report out on the Measure E projects.
Sure.
Well, Samara will go ahead and, Samara will go ahead and present the financial budget report.
All right, can everybody see that? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
I had a mouthful of water, so I could not speak.
So good evening. So I wanted to address what we talked about last meeting. I think there was a request for the format to more closely resemble that of our older report. Unfortunately, at this time, our new software can't really do that yet. However, I've been throwing troubleshooting and feature requests at the engineer. So once he gets done with a few of those items on that list, I will talk to him about how we can work on the formatting more. So starting with the report itself, as you can see, there is we've committed 76% of the total 664 million and expended 62% of it, meaning the actual expenditures are 62%. I'll zoom in a little bit on this. And I'll just move to the next slide. So last time I told you that we were asked to move the program admin cost from the project level into its own bucket. But we were recently actually asked to reverse that, to put those, move those funds back to the project level. And so that's the results that you'll see in this report.
Can you please explain that one more time?
So, oops, I'm zooming in the wrong thing, sorry. Yeah, so last time we had been requested to move the project admin costs. They were at a project level, meaning each project had admin costs, a budget line item for admin costs. And we were asked to put that in a, take them from the project level. However, subsequently after that, we were told to put them back at the project level. So
why is that so?
Maybe Kelly can better speak to that. It's, I believe that.
Samara, I can answer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So at the time when we were preparing reports previously, Assistant Superintendent Pfeiffer had requested us to remove those dollars and identify them in a separate line item. And in doing so, the way that the projects are set up, in these overall total budgets that you all see, it caused a deficit that needed to be reflected in a different way. And so we've gone through different iterations of accounting practices and have settled on the manner by which you guys are actually seeing it now, which is all of the project budgets have been restored to the previous numbers to be a reflection of actual dollars that are being allotted and budgeted for each project as they were board approved. So that is what Samara was trying to explain, is that the previous report showed you lower numbers for project budgets, and this report is actually reflective of the report that shows all budget numbers inclusive inside all of your projects that make up the total budget for the bond. Excuse me.
Yes, this is what we were doing before. So there was only, one or two reports, I think, that reflected it not being at the project level. So we're going back to what we had been doing for a long time, essentially. These are our in progress projects. And as Kelly said, they're going to be a bit higher on here than the previous report. And here are our closed projects. And you also may notice, as if you really dig into this report, that there might be small differences. This is because we're in a reconciliation process, working out some things that just making sure our existing accounting software is represented the same way in our new accounting or reporting software. And so we're working with district personnel and all that stuff. We went through a whole process with that. So there's just some minor changes that would reflect that.
Samara, can you show them the current projects? Because that's really the most relevant for what we're talking about this evening. There you go. Go back up in progress. There you go. Yeah.
Kelly, you're muted.
These would be the ones that we want to talk about if there are any questions, because those are our current in progress ones. If you can reduce it so they can see the total budget encumbered and remaining budget.
Sorry, lost it.
It happens.
And Vanita, I did email this to you. Were you able to send out the updated copy to everyone? Okay.
I did.
Great. Thank you. Samara, is there anything else to report on?
Oh, sorry. Can you still see my screen?
No.
Did it go away? Oh, whoops. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to go over another thing that's different. And also just to note that that the future projects, the Group 2 and Group 3, the projects that have not started yet, but have been budgeted and are part of that $664 million budget are listed here. But a change that happened. So like I was saying before, the totals in this line, the 540, 8010 facilities and construction bond program support costs, those were moved back into the project level. So if you're wondering why there's negative amounts shown here, that is because even though we've moved the program admin costs to the project level, not all of the expenditures have been transferred to the projects. And this is something that we're working on. And at some point, all the expenditures will move to the project. All those expenditures will move to the project level. So I just want to assure you that we are not actually over budget at all. For this program, we have budgeted about $37.1 million in program admin costs, and through the end of last fiscal year, 15.7 million about of those types of costs had already been transferred to the projects, which means that we have about 21.4 million remaining in budget that would cover the expenditures that are shown there. And I just wanted to make that clear so people didn't, worry about those negatives. But yeah, that's all I have, unless people have questions.
Any questions?
Samara, could you go back
Brian?
up to the cover sheet as well, please?
Where did it go? Every time I click the next slide, it exits. Sorry about that.
Dan, you have a question while Samara is working on that, bringing up the slides?
Let me unmute. Yeah, thank you. So I apologize. I didn't see the last meeting and hadn't realized the report had changed. I guess one question I wanted to ask, if I could get a copy of this report. I was planning to share this with FAC tonight to educate them on the kind of the bond situation, the bond funding. So probably should have the most current numbers. The second thing is, where do I find the contingency on the program contingency on this report?
On the first point, Brian, please look at the CBOC's agenda for tonight. It has links to this and the report that
Are they you put in these reports, this specific report here?
If we have them by the time the agenda is posted, yeah.
It is.
Oh, great. Sorry, I interesting.
Or
Okay.
Brian, I can send it to you.
Anyway, I figured if the numbers were different, that I might as well make sure I have the most accurate information. Oh yeah, you did. No, wait, no. As of 3:15 is what the FAC agenda has, and this report is as of 4:25.
Give me 1 second.
Anyway, it's not the end of the world, but I just.
Actually, Brian, if you look at the top of this first paragraph, the second line from the bottom is listed district-wide bond program contingency, and that is where that is identified.
Thank you. Part of it's learning to read a new report. There were a lot of valuable footnotes in the previous report. Is it possible to
So some of the things that were changed,
to maintain those?
some of the things that were changed in this report is now those footnotes are actual line items. So instead of having a reference to, say, E-rate or OPSC state funding or Prop 39, you actually have the totals of those items in their own line items. So they're easily identified and you know exactly how much has been received in terms of revenue as well as expenditures for those particular items. Whereas previously they were just footnoted and they were just kind of carried as a running tab at the bottom. But now in this report, they're actual line item identified. And if this document is live, you can actually click on it and then you get the drill down of what makes up that 1,000,005, that 15,479, or the two, my screen is very small, 2 million, whatever that number is for the Prop 39. So that's the difference. And this is one of the features that we had found to be very helpful and useful in this new software program that we're utilizing, is that we can really kind of dig into the numbers and provide you guys with some very up-to-date real-time budgets without having to have like a 30-day delay kind of thing. So
Yeah, and just
the part of the footnotes that I found useful, and it doesn't have to be in the same report, but I found useful, there was kind of footnotes about board decisions and decision dates, and that's always nice for being able to trace trace back to, to the board meeting the decision was made to get the full context.
If that is something that you want to have still footnoted, we can go ahead and still put board transactions at the very end of the report.
I think that will be really helpful.
Okay.
Samara, if you could go to the cover sheet again, I think we, correct me if I'm wrong, unless you and Stan did some adjustments, that we're still carrying those footnotes on the cover sheet. This report here is now the result of the new program that the district is using, Keystone, versus the old program. And as Samara stated at the beginning of the report, this cover sheet that used to be included on the old report, Samara is creating this manually until she's able to get with the Keystone team, and they'll work out a way to create this within the report itself. But it looks
we
like
decided, like, instead of putting the footnotes, which I guess we did not include all the footnotes, like you're saying, with the board decisions, and we can add those back in. But instead of putting those footnotes, we just put the excluded from totals, and we put the E8, OPSC, and Prop 39 listed out here. So it was clearer, because that's what initially we had. But we, like you said, we can add it back in the board, the board actions for reference as well.
Okay.
Thank you for considering that.
Sorry, Brian, you want to finish your thought?
I was just saying, thank you for considering that.
Thank you. Carla, you have a hand raised.
Yes. Samara, if you could help me understand some of the terms that you're using in terms of all the numbers that are under the encumbered column. Does that mean that they are promised to be like,
right?
I don't, because there's the budget of the project, and then there's the encumbered, meaning that a contract's already been signed to spend that money, or
correct. That's exactly right. That's the contracted amounts and the promised amounts, and the expenditures are the actual checks that go out.
And then what's the difference between remaining balance and encumbered balance?
So that's just the budget, minus either the promised amounts, the encumbered amounts, or promise the actually spent, amounts, the checks that go out. And so that would be budget. I see what you're saying. Budget remaining is the budget minus the expenditures, I believe. You know what? That's a good question. I'm wondering if
I think it's probably because encumber is mainly for your contractor, right? You also have other soft costs, like your
encumbered. It means the soft. When I say contracts, I mean like contracts with the with the architect as well, and all that kind of stuff.
So probably some of the projects you might not in construction yet, right? So it's just professional service contracts. That's why you have more remaining. So you still have budget remaining.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Amount,
correct,
depending on the phase of your projects, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So encumber is mainly your design contracts plus your construction contracts.
It's everything. So it's everything that's been promised. It's been in a contract that, and so it's going to be usually higher than the expended amount, if not equal. If that makes sense.
Yeah, the encumbered funds are funds that have been identified for spending, contracted, identified for spending. The expenditures are what the funds that have already been spent, the remaining budget, and the remaining encumbered.
Okay. Samara, if you remember last time, I requested that you have them colored coded so that we can see. I know you have alternate color going on, but there is still, I don't see the function where I see the deficit and the plus and minus. You remember what?
So that's I'm not sure what you mean by the color coding. I went back and looked at the old report and I didn't. Did you mean like all the expenditure amounts to be red, or
Not exactly red, but you remember a few months back we used to have color coded columns. Am I forgetting something? Maybe I'll look into it for more. And
I'll bring it up really quickly to see.
I'm not sure. That might be a function of Anita that we'll have to
the
look
software.
into to see if Keystone is able to do that.
Ah, okay.
I just want to really quickly, I'll put this on the screen.
That's okay. Let's move on.
Okay.
We have very little time. Then Kelly will have to move.
Gotcha.
So Kathy, you have your hand raised. Kathy, you have your hand raised. Okay, what's going on? Susan, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure if that's appropriate in here, but I guess one of the things that we can do to avoid some questions being asked, if we can use the same nomenclature or like terms, like committed, is the same as encumbered, right? So if we make it consistent, I think probably will, resolve a lot of the, questions that will be asked. Mm-hmm.
Will do, yeah.
And same thing for received, right? I mean, it does not align with any of, revenue received. Maybe just use the same labels.
Will do.
Thank you.
Susan. Thank you, Susan. Moving on. Kelly, do you have checks for us to see? I know I asked you at last moment, but
I had put the request into our accounts payable department, and they were not at the close of business today. They had not finished the report for me. So I will have to forward that to you all after I receive it from them, and you all will have it for review and discussion at your next meeting.
Okay. So going forward, I would request that when you are giving us the financial report, you share those checks too. Copy of those checks so we see
so
where.
As I had stated to you, we have to request the actual copies of the checks from the county. But what I can give you is a running tab report, which is a report that we generate for the board that gives the check number, the amount, and the vendor that it was posted to, so that it's basically a balance, your checking statement or your cash in, cash out. And so would that be sufficient? Because it would be quite cumbersome for us to get the actual checks since it's on a request basis, but I can give you the report to run it on a project by project basis of what was paid, and you can see all the various vendors and check numbers and things like that.
That will be good. That will be good. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Brand, you have a hand raised.
Thank you. One other question. Did you discuss at all how to consider not funded projects in the report? Because the previous report had a section on not funded projects.
I'm not sure I understand your question, Brian.
Is the group 4, the not funded projects from the previous report? I don't think that's in this report.
The unfunded projects.
There's a future projects on page 6. I don't know if that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. I know what you're talking about, Brian, and it's not a list that could be generated by our current software, but I can easily just attach it to the report.
Yeah, I think that help.
I appreciate it. It makes this report the one place you can go to see everything.
Thank you, Brand, for that.
The unfunded projects or the unfunded sites that were identified as part of the long range facilities plan was a feature that we put in that was inserted in that report based on the accountability program that the bond used previously. And that was something that Banner built into that report. I don't know, and we'll have to work on, I'm sure that there's a way to do it, but we'll have to work on having that built into, I don't know, we'll have to talk with Kelly and see if there's a way to build that into Keystone's report, given that Keystone's report is pulled from a solely accounting function, right? So
I mean,
what's happening and what's not overall in the budget and the funds 21, 25, 40. But we can work with Kelly and Patty Paulson, see if that's something that we can have identified, because if there's not an active budget for those items, it's not going to show up in the accounting software, correct? So so that's a feature that Banner added into the previous report so that we could continue to track everything that was identified as part of the long-range facilities plan and what might be coming up soon. So if there's no budget assigned to it, it's not going to be in the accounting software. So
it's fine. There may be other equally transparent implementations, like maybe there's a link to another static document with more context of these projects. And
it would be good to save retain the integrity of that information as well. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you very much.
But I imagine that technically I can only imagine the possible challenges. So other options work, I think, as well.
Thank you, Brian. Moving on, April, do we have project status report?
Certainly, sure. Hold on, let me bring this up and share my screen.
I am so excited when Lisa comes on. I get to see all the pictures.
Because it flags the end of the meeting is what she's means.
No, I like the pictures. I like to see the pictures.
Yeah, I wish I could fit more of them in there, but there are so many, it would be very, very large. Okay, so you can see my screen. It's coming up. Perfect.
Yeah, and this is the least stressful time of the meeting. So.
Okay, so a lot of good activity going on with all of the projects, particularly the 3 large middle school conversion projects are moving at full speed. And in addition to all of the work that's being done on construction scope itself, we're in heavy preparations for the summertime end of school, summertime moves, and start of new phases of construction at all of these sites, starting immediately after school starts.
Do we have any sites that are opening in the fall of 2022?
Well, all of the sites will open. Hopkins will open. All of the sites, of course, Thornton and Centerville have always been occupied. That's construction while occupied. Mm-hmm. And then Hopkins will be moving back from Lila Bringhurst and will open in the fall as well on that site, and will continue to be a site that's occupied during construction. So with Hopkins, all of the interior buildings, the existing buildings, have been modernized and will have been completed and ready and set up for school to start. And once school starts, the only thing that will continue will be the NPR building and the new classroom building, Building J, the large one on the left side of the school. So, but yes, they will all open in the fall, ready for school to start.
Fall 2023, it says, so not 2020.
No, I'm sorry. They will all open and continue to be occupied and have regular school season this year, or the academic year, on the sites while construction continues.
Okay.
So I think if I may, maybe just to clarify on, pardon me for the interruption, but on the conversions, if it's helpful for the discussion point, I think summer, yes, when we look at fall of 2023, that's when the 6th graders would move on to the campus.
Okay.
Right.
That makes it clear. Thank you.
So once these large middle school conversion projects complete next summer, as Superintendent Kamick said, then that's when the 6th graders move over and the conversion to the formal middle school will be complete.
Okay.
But for the 22-23 academic year, yes, they will all continue to open and will be occupied while the construction finishes around them. Okay. And having said that, Thornton Middle School conversion, we are in our last 2 increments of getting kicked off. So increment 3B is the existing classroom buildings, and then increment 4 is the new library and administration building. Those are completing and design. Actually, 3B, the modernization of the existing buildings has already gone through the DSA approval. It is just now waiting for kickoff starting June. As soon as, the day school gets out, the next day, everything's rocking and rolling. So they will move all of the materials out and construction will begin. Increment 4, which is the construction of the new library and administration building, that will also begin after school gets out, but it will start, given the delay in the DSA approval, it will start a little bit late, and we anticipate a little bit later and anticipate start of construction July 6th. So that'll be following a month behind the modernization. Kennedy High School modernization has completed its DSA process. It's been approved by DSA, and we are going to the board. Actually, it just got bumped. So we're going to the board for approval in June, which flags us to go out to procurement here very, very soon. Actually, the end of this, toward the end of this month, middle of this month. We're a little bit behind what we had anticipated here. We just pushed it out about a week or so. So we will go out to procurement, which means go out to bid. We'll receive the bids, process that, and then have that all set up and ready to go for approval to the June 15th board meeting, and then kick construction off right after that, with the anticipation of completing that project the end of summer of 2023 as well. So that one's right on track. The Group 1 elementary schools, those projects are in design as well. And in fact, we'll be having at the May 11th, the scoping presentation to the board for approval. And then once we receive that approval, the projects will go, it's one project, 5 schools, will go into DSA for review and coming sometime this fall. And we'll move into construction shortly after that. Move into procurement shortly after that, with anticipation of issuing a bid sometime the first of the year, notice to proceed in the spring, and then they will be set up to complete this work next summer, the summer of June of 2023. We have missed our window to start construction this summer at those sites. So we've shifted our schedule just a little bit so that they will go up notice to proceed sometime next spring with the contractor, in plenty of time for them to complete the work, starting as soon as school gets out next summer, and completing by the end of August. So the scope is minimal, so that schedule is supported, but
will that not affect the cost?
We anticipate it might affect the cost a little bit, yes, but that's been part of the issue with the DSA delays for this project, because you are replacing flooring. The preliminary review with DSA, which is the state agency, the preliminary review with DSA required the architects to go back and look at a 25% investment in accessibility, which means we have to use 25% of the approved budget to address accessibility items. And so we have had to work around that a little bit, and we will present that information to the board on May 11th and discuss hopefully some methods that we might be able to increase the budgets a bit based on what the architects have found, and we'll present that to the board. Yes, Susan.
Yeah, so these costs that we are seeing in front of us, are these the costs that was estimated like last year or a year before?
These are the set approved budgets, the budgets that the board approved.
Right. So actually, we need to kind of like probably what you're alluding to is, I know right now, in the industry, because of the supply chain issues, what's going on after COVID or during COVID, we've been experiencing like an 8 to 10% escalation this year and next year.
Correct.
So yeah, this price is going to probably go up much higher.
This is just the board approved budget. So we have incorporated into our presentation to the board our anticipated cost increases, and that will be part of the discussion we'll be having.
That's smart. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And And we anticipate if we are able to find a way to increase the budgets, then we will retain our schedule going into DSA and we'll go out to bid next year. But it'll be based on the discussion that we are able to have with the board and if they're, with their approval. So, but yeah, what I'm carrying here is just the board approved budgets that we show what these projects overall had been approved at and what cost. And so, and then as you see, I'm still carrying an anticipated completion next fall. So, and so then we go into construction with Hopkins. So Hopkins, as I said, is moving along very quickly. The new multipurpose building, which houses the multipurpose gym, drama area, and the kitchen, is moving along really well. We have accelerated the kitchen piece so that we will not have to address, forgive the bell in the background. We have accelerated the kitchen construction so that we have the new kitchen building is complete in time for this year's school opening, in lieu of providing a temporary kitchen setup and then letting the building proceed on its natural schedule, which was anticipated originally to complete in December. So we've taken those steps to accelerate the kitchen. We'll have a permanent kitchen in place, which is going to be a really nice thing. And then the multipurpose building will be into finishes by then, and that will continue on its path to be complete in December. The new music building, which is the adjacent building, the other new construction, is well on its way into finishes and will be rolling up into punch list come June, and will be completed in time for occupancy and start of school in August as well. So that's a nice thing. Building J, which is the new classroom building, that is heavy into construction, as you'll see, and you probably see as you go by the site. Framing, steel framing, metal stud framing. We are now in putting on our shell and our weather barrier. And so that's moving right along, and that is scheduled to complete next summer. So that will be ready for the conversion next year in August. The existing building E, gym and locker room, that is pretty much complete on the inside. We did find some additional leaks at the high roof of the gym. That's apparently some existing leaks, so we are replacing that roof. That was approved, and those funds are within the budget contingency that we have. So that will be that would have been the only roof that was not replaced. So we thought that was a wise way to address utilize some of those contingency funds and replace that roof. So Hopkins will have a complete site with all brand new roofing, or the site will have all brand new roofing and complete. So building A and B, the administration building is building A. That's where the offices are. And then adjacent building B is classrooms. Building A will be complete and in time for us to move the principal and his staff back from Lila Bringhurst, and they will actually be working in their offices through the rest of the month of June. So he's pleasantly surprised, not surprised, but he's happy about that. So that will be that is in place and will be complete by then. Building G, which is the science classrooms and the new library and the rest of the hardscaping. All of that is ongoing, but Building G and the new library will also be complete and in time for this summer to occupying at the start of school in August. So as I said, the only buildings that will be continuing under construction with Hopkins once school starts is the classroom building and the multipurpose room. Everything else will be complete, and then they will finish the hardscape around those spaces once those buildings are complete as well. So that's moving along really well. Thornton, as you'll see in the photos, and if you happen to go by the site, is there in increment 2, which are the 5 new buildings. So the construction of those buildings is complete. On the exterior, they're finishing just minor finishes on the interior, and you'll probably see, if not in the photos, if you happen to go by, that all of the flat work going around those buildings and the new hardscape is all being installed currently. So as they finish punch list items and do their last bits of update for those 5 new buildings, as soon as summer starts, as soon as the last day of school hits, they will be moving out, as I said, the existing classroom buildings, and those will go into construction. Some of those spaces will be actually swung into the new buildings. And so that's how they will be able to empty out the existing buildings. We'll swing all of those materials into the new buildings. Some of those classrooms will stay there permanently. Those will be their permanent homes, and other spaces will just be housed there until the rest of the buildings are complete, and they'll be moved back into their final homes of classrooms as well. So you'll see a switch in the construction. Everything's been happening at Thornton at the back of the school, and the front of the school is just going on and existing as it has been. Now you'll see a major shift in that all of the occupancy will be in the back of the school, and the entire front of the school will be under construction. So, but that's moving well on the way. And like I said, the teams have been working very hard with our move management company to ensure that all preparations have been addressed in anticipation of that firing of the gun on the day after school gets out. So, and everything will hit the ground running. Centerville Middle School conversion, same thing. They're in phase 3, increment 1, which is construction of the new 2-story classroom building. And you'll see some photos of that, but you might also see it on site if you go by. It's actually up and dried in. All of the exterior weatherproofing and the exterior finishes are being applied. Inside of that building is still heavily under construction. You have a lot of framing, and they're in a lot of the roughing, putting in the plumbing, mechanical, electrical, that kind of thing. And then we'll start seeing some finishes go. But this building is set to complete next summer as well as part of the conversion. And then phase 3, increment 2, which is the locker room renovation, that will start as soon as the first day after school is out. And that will continue. That's about a 9-month duration on that situation. So they have temporary spaces for the students and the coaches. Once school starts, they'll have a temporary office space that they will use until the new locker room is complete. And then, I missed the, go back up. See if I can make this thing go up without crashing on us. Closeout of Horner locker room expansion, that is complete. Those buildings are ready and occupiable. It's actually turned out very nice with the new fence and everything. So that's all done, and we're into DSA closeout.
Lisa, I
Yes.
object to the statement that they turned out nice. We have not seen it.
I'm sorry?
We have not seen it. We cannot vouch to it whether
Oh,
they turned
yeah.
out well or not.
You have
So
to go
go-
by and
so-
see it. That
so
is one
you
thing I
need- you
don't
need
have a picture of, is the new
You
fence.
need to stop rubbing the salt on our wound.
Oh, I'm
so-
sorry. Oh, I see where you're going with that, Benita.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got it. Meetings at sites.
Yep.
And you just happen to have the person that might be able to help us out with that on this meeting
Yep.
tonight.
Yep.
CJ.
Yes, CJ, you need to help us out because Lisa has rubbed enough salt on
Aw.
our wound. We really need to see
I've teased them for the last 2 months now.
Not 2 months, 2 years.
Okay. I'm sorry, Carla, you raised your hand.
Yes, Carl, please go ahead.
I have 2 things. One is that I just want to remind Vanita that we still need to get the minutes approved before the end of the meeting.
Yes.
And then I don't know if I missed the we've talked previously about the Matos emergency roofing that's mentioned, but I wasn't clear in terms of it's going before the board on May 11th, but it would still not be able to be finished until next summer. Is that my understanding correct?
That's going to be part of the conversation, Carla. First step we need to do is present it to the board and explain why we need the additional funds to replace that roof. And then the decisions can be made based on what the result of that conversation. Decisions can be made as to do we have time to start a roof replacement this summer, perhaps, and then still tabling the actual scope of the project. It might be that we might be able to do it in 2 pieces. a lot of that's going to have to do with Kelly as well. And I see she's unmuting, so she has thoughts.
Well, I would just be very conservative in saying that it's highly unlikely that we will actually start the roofing projects in the summer, just because, the vendors are basically booked already for the summer. So the best that we could hope for is that we go ahead and get our projects approved. We have documentation that we need to submit to DSA and kind of do our stuff that we normally do. And we would probably look to try and start this work and get it done before the rainy season, and then phase it out as best we can. But it would definitely be within the next calendar year of the school year, not within this one.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, so Lisa, I'll have to interrupt you because Susan has to go, and I need her for the meeting minutes approval. Okay, going back. Sorry, we'll come back to your slides after we are done.
I'll just take it down. Sure.
Yeah,
Vanita,
So-
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes with a minor amendment that my last name is actually Cox, C-O-X, and it's listed as Rabui in the minutes.
Okay. I think, Laura, did you make a note of it? Thank you. Any other amendments? Okay, Kathy. Kathy, you raised your hand.
Sorry,
can't
I
hear you.
second the motion.
Oh, thank you. We have a motion and we have second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposing, say nay. Motion passes. The meeting minutes can be put on the record. Okay. We had one more agenda item that we left open to discuss later on. Did we cover it? I'm sorry.
It was oral and written communications.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much, Laura. Kelly, do we have any oral written communication from anybody for CBOC?
I do believe that we received 2 requests for information from 2 community members to join. And I believe my assistant Carol had reached out to them, and I believe we CC'd you on that correspondence, Vanita. There were 2 members that had asked about, joining, and so we had forwarded that information. But I have not gotten completed applications from them at this time.
Yeah, you did, but it's not, I can't do anything. If they want to join, they have to apply and they have to go through the board.
I know, but in answer to your question, did I receive communication?
Okay.
Those were the 2
Yes,
communications
you did.
that I did receive
Yes,
from
thank you.
those 2
Thank you
community
both for that.
members. So
Okay,
we're
thank
waiting
you.
for them to submit their applications, and then I can turn that over to you all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No okay. Moving on. I know I'm sorry, we are running late again. What is the agenda? I think the other items are long range facility plan, which is again next time I'm going to put it before the status report, so we get to it before. We run out of time for that. Does anyone have any burning issues on the agenda that we want to talk about, or would you like to table something? Yes, Superintendent Kamek.
I just wanted to mention before we close, while I was in the meeting, I was doing a little bit of looking, and I did find a number of audit reports from prior years that have been published with board agenda packets. So I'll work with our staff to make sure that those are published to the CBOC website tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. That was our biggest ask. I know it's not very hard. It's just that it's not in the right place where it should be. That's all. I'm not questioning that it never happened. The question is that it's not in the right place. That's all.
No problem. Happy to get them up there on that website as soon as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Kamek. So coming back to the agenda, does anybody see any burning topics that we need to take upon today, or can we table rest of it next time?
I move we table it and also make a note. I believe I saw Siv had joined, and he normally is very interested in the audit reports. So if we could make a note that next meeting we're hoping to discuss the audit report and make sure that Siv has the hard copy as well.
Siv does not have a hard copy yet?
I don't know. I just want to make sure that he has everything he needs, because normally Siv takes a particular interest and has lots of questions for the audit report. So I just want to make sure he has everything he needs.
Thank you. I'll move the audit on and fourth on the agenda item for next time, so that we make sure that Siv is there. Okay. I think I would like Lisa to finish her pictures before we adjourn the meeting. So we all leave with happy note.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm
All right,
I'm gonna
I'd be
go ahead
happy
and
to
excuse myself
bring it
from
up
doing
really
the
quickly.
FAC. So please let me know if there's anything else that you all need. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Be happy to bring it up really quickly.
Yes.
So here's Thornton Middle School. Oh, it's still, okay, there we go. Can you see it?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. So Thornton Middle School, this is basically work that is pretty much complete. So you can see the new bathrooms, some of the
so
site
beautiful.
work. I'm sorry?
I said it looks beautiful.
Yeah, colors are really nice. And this is, our construction manager out there likes to do little fisheye lens photos just to get the whole body of the building in, but does come out, it's kind of weird. I promise it's not really shaped that way, but it's to show you the railings, the hardscape is complete. The plants are going in, as you can see, the trees. It will be beautiful when it's done. It looks very nice now. We'll have to go out and see it together. Centerville Middle School. Come on, keep going. Go down. It's lagging on me here. Oh, there we go. Now it's going to jump. What? Oh, Jesus. There we go. Okay. Centerville. Stop it. There we go. So on Centerville, top left is the new building J. That is not what it will look like when it's finished. That is just some weather siding or some weatherproofing. It will be look much nicer than this when it's done. It doesn't look really nice all in its little white coats, but you can see this is the courtyard on the top right for the new building, which is huge and it's going to come out very nice. Some interior work, just showing some work in progress here. The building K, which is the new weight room, this large portable here. This is the one, of course, we had to replace the sides and basically reframe it. The new trash enclosure is going up, masonry on the right. That will actually go up and have a roof on it and big doors so that all of those bins that are always out front and look really cluttery and messy all get placed inside this trash enclosure. All three of the projects have this same feature, and so it will keep the site much, much cleaner. Hopkins, this is what the interior of the new admin office looks like. It's coming along. The casework is being put in this photo, but a lot of the nice green that is Hopkins. Principal's office there on the right, so you'll see his window there. So it's coming along. All of the interior. Photo on the left is the locker rooms. I showed you, I believe, a photo previously of all of them going in, but this is a final photo. Photo on the right is all the new casework has been delivered. It will be start to get installed in there. This is one of the classrooms in the new science wing, that building G. This on the left is the new library. It's actually much further along than this photo already. Very
Carla,
nice building.
1 second, Lisa. Carla, we'll reach out to you for the subcommittee.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So this will be the new library, which we will keep the open beams here, which is a nice feature for a nice, quiet, cozy library. Photo on the right is just to show you the amount of ductwork and HVAC. All of the these projects, one of the main purposes of these projects is to replace all of the HVAC and provide all new HVAC units, particularly for the current health scare and concerns. So all of these sites are getting an enormous amount of HVAC units and new ductwork, et cetera. Building on the left is the new classroom building. As you can see, it's going up the framing. The building on the right is the new multi-purpose room. That's the building I was saying. This portion of the building will finish in December. It's hard to see behind there, but behind there is where the new kitchen is. And that's much further along in terms of already being sided on the outside and whatnot. But this multi-purpose room is huge. It's going to be very large. It'll house the gym as well as a stage for performances. It's going to be a very nice interior building.
What school is that?
This is Hopkins.
Okay, so we have similar setup at Centerville, and everybody hates it because the acoustic is so terrible.
Oh, right.
There is a stage, there is a gym, a multi-purpose room.
Yeah.
The acoustic is really terrible. I don't know whether you guys paid attention to that in this one or not.
I believe they are putting some acoustic paneling on the walls. I'll have to check. I know we're putting it in the music room for sure.
At Centerville, it's just so terrible that
due to the tall ceilings, right?
Due to tall ceiling, the large room, kids don't want to perform over there. That's the reason why we need theater at Centerville. So
we'll look into that.
Yep. Okay.
And then the rest is just the project and design. These are coming up, so that's it.
Okay. I know CJ left, but can you pass on our question? When do we get to see these buildings?
We'll get him there, to agree, won't we? That's everything.
I don't know. I probably have to hold his feet to fire then.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate, the ebb and flow of the COVID, and it's just, I don't know.
Yep. So. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
If there are no more questions, I'll adjourn the meeting. Okay. It's 7:42. I adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Sue, for coming.